Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on object orientation with design patterns. And in this opportunity, we're going to talk about one of the structural patterns, which is the facade pattern. So the facade pattern is, as the name suggests, is going to be in charge of drawing a facade in front of a very complex API. So suppose we have a system that for whatever reason is complicated to use. Now, it could be complicated to use for different reasons. So it could be because it's badly designed, or it could be because you have several variables in the input, or um, just because it's just a complicated system by nature. So on the other hand, you have a client program that needs to use it regularly. But this complication might make the user struggle with the use of the system. So this is where the API, this is where the facade pattern can come handy and come into play. Now it's quite a simple pattern, but it's actually really, really powerful. So to understand this a little bit better, let's imagine this example. Now, I warn you straight away that this example is unnecessarily overcomplicated, but that's the whole point. So when you have a system that is more complicated and you're trying to simplify it a little bit using a facade. So suppose this system that I'm going to show you as an example has two types of database. So you can have a MySQL connection database, or you can have an Oracle database. But also, not only for different type of not only has different type of databases, but it also has different type of reports. So you can have a report in HTML and you can have a report in PDF. So let's take a look at sample code that I gave you. It is the pre-class version of the code that I have posted up on Moodle. And let's take a look at it. So in this case, I've given you a connection class. That connection class takes a type, which is just a string. And I have two helper classes, one for MySQL and one for Oracle. Now, in both of the cases, these classes return a connection of the given type. So I have just like a singleton kind of way. Well, it's not really a singleton, but like a factory kind of way. I can call the method getMySQL database connection, and in the case of MySQL, it will create the instance of MySQL connection, and in the case of the Oracle, it will create the instance of the Oracle connection. So let's have a look at what the client side looks. So I have a table name, which in this case is just a string saying I want to get a report from this particular table. So how do I use this system that is overcomplicated? So first of all, I need to create a connection using the MySQL helper if I want to get a MySQL connection. And then once I have the connection, then I need to create an instance of the MySQL helper, and from there call the generate MySQL HTML report, passing in the table name and the connection that has been previously created. Again, this could be a lot more simpler, but again, it is overcomplicated just for the sake of showing you an API that might be just overcomplicated. So the same thing for the second one, I have a connection too. In this case, I'm using the Oracle helper to get a connection, and then an instance of the Oracle helper class to being able to call the generate Oracle PDF report for the table name and the connection that I've given. So if I run the code that I'm giving you here, this should run. So this is saying this is your MySQL connection, and this is the report HTML for the table, and this is your Oracle connection, and this is your PDF report for the table, So what I would ask you to do is see how you can implement a new class that would be your facade class that's going to be in charge of making this, from the client point of view, making this a little bit easier. Now I'm not changing anything in the connections or the helpers. They're going to remain exactly the same. But from the main point of view, from the client point of view, the idea is just to simplify a little bit the process of using any of these helpers or reports. So give it a go. I would recommend you to just give yourself a good 10 or 15 minutes to do it, and then go to the next video when I'm going to code that. So thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next one.